thought we were live.
Okay, now it is.
Oh, okay, now we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second annual comic book reading club for C3. And on this stream, we'll be discussing This One Summer by Jillian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. I'm just going to go. My name is Carl Lucas, and I'm just going to go clockwise for me, and we can all introduce ourselves.
Is that Chandu then?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Hi, I'm Chandu, Tenity Art on Instagram. I'm a comic book artist and been with C3 for a couple of years. Really enjoyed reading this book. Eager to talk about it. Sydney, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Sydney Kitt. I'm the fearless leader of C3. I read the book. JM.
I read the book, of course. I even tried reading it digital. Always get the book in print in hand if you can, because the digital, no bueno. And what else am I? Oh, I am here.
Okay, so this was a really fun book. It's kind of a coming of age story, and it's about two girls, Rose and Wendy, and they go off and have a summer vacation. Thus, the title, This One Summer. I think JM selected this book, so I wanted to ask JM in particular, why did you choose this book, and what made you pick this one?
Because it was purple and pretty. It looked really nice to cover, and I was obsessed with it. And then when you get to actually touch the texture of the pages, if you've read it in the physical edition, it's just really, really, really like tactical. But so it's got a little bit of rough texture to it and everything, and the artwork is gorgeous. So I just,
Okay.
I like that kind of genre too, slice of life, autobio.
Right.
Kind of that kind of genre too. That's also why.
Yeah, so the cover really stood out to you. This limited color palette, this it's kind of a purplish color. I wanted to ask everyone, what is your favorite moment or scene? And we'll start with Shandu to get the discussion going.
There were a lot. I mean, obviously the climax stands out, but we'll talk about that later. I think one moment that definitely stands out for me is the first big blow up that happens in the house, when right after, like, it looks like everybody is settling down into the vacation, and the mom is washing dishes and the dad is like feeling lovey-dovey and like tries to get close to her, and she drops a dish and it shatters, and just like all the tension comes just rushing back in. I think it was really well done as a moment. Very memorable.
Yeah, that moment had a lot of tension for sure. Sid, what's your favorite moment? Favorite scene?
My favorite moment, I think I got it right, is 70 and 71, the spread where Wendy is dancing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have the book, so if somebody can show it, but that was probably the part that stood out to me, because you could just, yeah. Oh no, your
background.
My background's distorting it.
That's okay. They had to go out and read it themselves.
Yeah.
Read it.
Segments of it, I guess.
But yeah, it was just you could just feel the movement. You can feel the dancing, and almost as if, for me, when I was reading it, it came off the page, and I can like almost imagine this dance happening in front of me. So it wasn't super specific to the plot or anything, but just that spread is definitely what I keep thinking about when I talk about this book.
Yeah, I love that too. It's such a character moment. Like, like the main character is just sitting there, like drawing, and Wendy's just like spinning all around, and then ends up with like, "Do you have more pop?"
it definitely helps show the difference between the two girls.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy just
JM,
comes alive.
JM, what's your favorite scene from the book?
There's a few, but the one that comes to mind the most, that one's a great scene, by the way. Wendy's a great character.
Mhm.
I would say it's spoilers, but it's at the end, towards the end, when the mom finally, in that moment, just clicks and then does what she needs to do in the moment, a pivotal moment to act right. And we all wish we would like to say that we would like to be the ones that would also act, but you never know when you're in that moment, especially if you're dealing with what the mom was dealing with throughout the whole book. So that was a really important moment for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What
I
about
don't know.
you?
I think my favorite scene is the dad listening to Rush. I really related to that. I'm a really big Rush fan. I love moving pictures, and I love 2112 and like goofy sci-fi rock albums. So when the dad was singing it and playing around, I actually texted my dad that and my sister. I was like, this reminds me of someone. I don't know who,
That's
but
so sweet.
I was messing with them. So the next question I want to ask, and we'll just go clockwise down the screen again, is what surprised you the most? What was the most shocking moment, or something that threw you off guard with this graphic novel? Really putting you on the spot again.
Yeah, I
Give me
know.
all the hard
I'm
questions
like, I was
first. I'm
like, I might.
sorry. I
Are
don't
you
mean it.
asking more for like plot specific? Are you asking like the
Yeah, like
art
is there
style? Or...
it could be anything. Like, is there was there anything that shocked you? Was there anything that you weren't expecting? You know,
Mhm.
I may have to pass. It's like,
that's
Come
fair.
back to you.
and come back
Yeah,
to me. Yeah, I'm have. Yeah.
I think for me, I don't remember what page or what area it was, but it was definitely this scene on the beach with the brother and sister-in-law, or sister and brother-in-law, sister and brother-in-law. Um, it didn't seem. It was so frustrating to me. You could tell that the mom was having a hard time and she didn't want to go into the water, but the brother slash in-law was just not letting her deal with this and was just being super aggressive. And I did not like it, but like that's just because I felt the uncomfortableness, so it was not in terms of like it was poor in the plot or anything. It was just like it was so well written and depicted in the imagery that I could feel as if I was there watching this awkward situation occur. So that was definitely something I wasn't prepared for, that was not a plot twist, but that was the part that I was like, oh, okay.
yeah. JM, do you have something? What anything
Yeah,
that
yeah,
surprised you?
yeah. I can answer that question, but I also want to weigh in on and vibe off of what Sydney was saying. In
That's
that
fine.
moment, that was like clear case of somebody not reading the room or reading the beach and just too much liquor, and you knew the foreshadowing was coming, and you could feel like you. I felt the frustration, and I also felt shame, like as a man who's clearly not reading the situation or respecting the mom's agency or her space. I was like, I just felt a lot of shame for that character, and I was like, this is out of bounds and everything like that. And
So
I hope that resonates with a lot of other people reading it.
it sounds like you and I had very similar things, except we took the different sides. That I resonated and felt with the mom, and you resonated, and felt the emotions of, not of the brother-in-law, but of his actions and how they impacted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, you start to think about as a man of my age and my generation, you start to think about any other meathead at times that you may have crossed those lines, or didn't respect someone's space, and all that kind of stuff like that. And it's like, wow. and then to see it really illustrated and to see it foreshadowed with all the stuff with the booze, and even the daughter, was it Rosalie, commented like, "Oh, that's not going to be good," when the guy had all the beer out and everything. So yeah, and then yeah, and then I did feel sympathetic to the mom, totally sympathetic. It's like, it's like just like leave her alone. That's
Yeah.
yeah. So, but my moment.
Point
Go ahead.
you thought, sorry, this is the last. But
No,
up until this moment, you thought that the mom almost drowned last year, and that was the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the brother-in-law was just like, "Why aren't you getting in?" It's like, my dude.
Yeah.
She almost drowned, huh?
Yeah.
So,
And I've seen that situation in person quite a bit growing up around polls and stuff, where you force somebody in that doesn't want to be in, and back in the 80s and 90s, it was just like people did not respect people's boundaries and all that. Though, even if the person was being a stick in the mud, that's their agency and that's their choice.
Right.
Now, my favorite moment. Not favorite moment. The moment that I felt disturbing wasn't so much as a scene. Maybe it was a scene, but it was just anticipation and dread that the girl that was missing, the one that ended up being pregnant,
Jenny.
that the story was about to take a really dark turn. We're about to go
yeah.
a whole different genre, and I was just dreading
sure.
that. And then I felt relief when it didn't go there. You know what I mean? Because I kind of wanted this to keep it. I wanted this tonality to keep its tonality. I wanted to read a slice of life. I didn't want to read something really dark. I wasn't in the mood for that. I have Netflix for that right now. And if I go to Netflix, I know what I'm getting. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted something that was a little bit more not slice of life, but just a little bit more lighter, but yet also a little bit I wanted the tone to kind of not shift too much or abruptly, and that's what I was worried about. So
Yeah.
and then I'll preface this one quick time. The other moment was at the village with the indigenous and seeing and again with Jenny and the other characters, the workers and all that.
When they're on their reservation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and that's it.
I was gonna say that Alice, or Rose's mom, her depression is really an anchor point of this story. It's as much her story as it is Wendy and Rose, because all the events and almost all the friction comes out of her depression and her getting over this miscarriage and losing this child and trying, like the friction with the husband, the friction with her daughter, the friction with the brother-in-law. It's just like, why can't you have fun? Why can't you get in the water? Like, just get over this, and she just really needed more time, and people weren't understanding the situation or the severity. I'm not sure anyone knew it as well, even as Evan, the husband. Like, it's nobody really understands, especially Rose. Rose doesn't understand, but Rose is acting out because Rose knows something's wrong. Shandu, do you have a moment that surprised you? Anything?
I think.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I was kind of struggling. I mean, I think it was so well laid out. Like, there weren't any I didn't feel like there were any super unexpected twists. But I think the part that kind of shook me a little bit was what you were saying, where Rose acts out and just finally just confronts her mom and just lays it out, of everything that she's thinking. And the mom is clearly in pain, but Rose is just not in a place to give her any kind of empathy. And she's my, yeah, and she holds her responsible for the dad leaving and just all of it. So yeah, I think that was a very affecting moment.
I think that part was really well written too, because you can tell that she's the kid. She's not being told this information that would be vital to her understanding what's going on. And so she's just acting on what she knows, which is half of the story, just what she can see.
Right.
I think it was really accurate, really well written. So, yeah, that was a good moment.
Yes, seeing it from two different perspectives at the same time while it was happening, reading, unfolding. Sean, as you well know, just as a parent, you know, like understanding like why, like should we have said something to the kid or not? We were trying to save him from the same type of, dark spots of life, but life happens, right? And then also seeing it from a kid's point of view, knowing being in those situations is a really weird. I don't know what's the word, dichotomy. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
just using a big word as syllables, So
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. Like, it's a good point. I mean, um, I think it was also set up really well because the mom is just very nerdy and like, and I think even early on, like, it's established that she's like a biologist or something, like she's written papers, like there's, and so like, and she has this persona of like not somebody who's very forthcoming with, you know, communication or like, emotions. And so like, it was understandable why she was struggling with like letting Rose in on that, right? Like she couldn't decide how or whether to explain. And like every time she'd be like, I wish I could tell you. And then Rose would be like, I don't know. I don't need to know. Like you just don't, you're just not, you just want the other baby or whatever it is, like, whatever story Rose had made up. But yeah.
I'm gonna shift things in kind of possibly lighter direction. I know this book has some really depressing themes and kind of coming of age and kind of seeing what reality really is. But what was everyone's favorite character? I just kind of want to go around and Sean, do you start? Who's your favorite character from this book? Yeah,
I mean, they're all really good characters. I mean, I think I like the dad. Um, yeah, I mean, he fell short in some ways, but like I think he was a very like relatable kind of grounding kind of character. Um, yeah, and also like it's obviously colored by how Rose sees him, and like so her memories of him, and like so I think it builds up his character really well.
he's very likable. He is.
Yeah,
He's
he
very
is.
likable. I remember after the argument in the kitchen, he takes Rose outside, and he's like, oh, we'll count 10 stars, or maybe more, But he's always has this like really lighthearted sense of humor throughout the book that is very relatable. Maybe he's still a kid at heart. And anyway, Sid, who's your favorite character from this book?
Definitely Wendy.
Okay, that's fair. Wendy's
She's
great.
fun. I feel like maybe I was Wendy growing up because she seems like not oblivious to what's going on, but also it's just kind of like, eh.
that's surprising. Interesting. That's surprising. Yeah. So. Oh.
That's what I wish that I was when I was younger.
Oh, okay. I was like, you're holding out on us. You're so responsible now.
No, but she seemed to know what was going on. Like she knew what was going on with the dud and Jenny, but it wasn't like bothering her at night, as it did Rose. So, but also she's just fun. She brings that element of fun.
But then when she was bothered, it was really mature. When you think about what bothered her, it's like really empathetic and and tuned in.
The scene on the beach where she calls Rose sexist.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And then there's that pause, and then there's that panel, and it's like it's the one part of the book where like Wendy breaks this silly kind of shell. She has this kind of silly hippie kind of spirit she has. She kind of breaks that for a moment. She's like, wait a second, Rose, you should check yourself on this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's what this is for, right? Weighing in and weighing in on each other's takes.
Let's Yeah,
JM, what was your character?
Yeah, who's your favorite? Yeah, beat me to it.
I thought you were going to move on to another question. I was like, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought you were too.
I didn't forget about him.
Wendy is up there. The dad is up there. I'm trying to think. I was trying to figure out what is that. How do you answer that question? Because there's maybe the environment to be a little meta, but the overall
Oh, wow,
environment,
that's interesting. That's
because there's so much scenery to chew upon, and obviously Oahu Island. Okay, yeah, obviously the art is embellishing the hell out of it, but I mean just the atmosphere, the cabin, the cottage. Anytime you can if you've ever had an opportunity to get away with family, or just take a little tiny small vacation, even if it's Hocking Hills nearby, right? And then what's supposed to be something where you're supposed to let your hair down. Sorry, Chandu and myself don't have much, but I mean, but you're supposed to have a relaxing, a situation, but yet all this weight is there. But then the liquor store or the little store with the VHS, only VHS stuff. There's so much character built into the environment and some of the staples that we came to know in this story, that it was almost like a movie, right? Like just how it's integral, like how Camp Crystal Lake is important to Jason, but on the other side of the spectrum when it comes to cabins. Okay.
It's funny you bring up serial killers because there is.
I kept waiting for that to happen. That was my dread. I kept waiting for that to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other stuff was happening instead, which is cool.
I was gonna say there was that recurring thread of they went and rented all the horror movies and Jaws, and there's like a lot of throwbacks to some older movies and stuff that I really enjoyed reading it. I was like, this is fun, and really like put me into the world more, I guess, especially a slice of life story, and then referencing real movies and stuff. And I think JM has a really good point about that. The town really does breathe. And the the locales and the video store, the house, everything about it. The beginning really sucks you in with all the trees and stuff. It's just like big panels with the
Can I
jump in, JM?
Yeah, just to vibe off of that. So much to the point that raise your hand if you had a chance to go to Oahu Island. Would you take it? I would take it. I would go. I would want to go visit now.
Well,
so going to Alum Beach? Going to Alum Beach, is that what's it called, or Alum Lake, whatever that is. I just took a whole bunch of photo references this week, because of this book. Also, I was like, I want to capture all this greenery, like Tamaki's did, right? I want to capture all this environment. So I was snapping like crazy earlier in this week, and I felt the book again, even though I was reading our next book. Stay tuned. I was already reading our next book, but I felt the atmosphere, and it brought me back to this. And then my daughter watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the other night too. So I'm like, what is going on? This book is coming back, and it stayed with me. It stayed with me in so many other ways, which I really appreciate when a book can do that.
Yeah. On that, I wanted to ask. For me, this book really it just flowed. It was an easy read. I didn't really like have a hiccup like when I was reading this. I wasn't like, the pacing's very well done. Like it just flows really well. It goes from scene to scene really well. There's not a lot of it doesn't really slow down. I read this in like an afternoon. I couldn't put it down. I wanted to know what happened. So what makes this book such an easy read? Does anybody want to talk about that? Like, is it the artwork? Is it the pacing? Like, what makes this so successful as like something that's easy to read?
I'm assuming we're going clockwise.
Yeah, Shandu, if you want to take the floor.
It's messed up for Shandu. I mean, like, let me know if you want me to go first, or Sydney wants to go first.
It's cool.
You go counterclockwise. That's fine.
Yeah.
No,
Shandu's like, dang, again.
No, I'm all over this.
Counterclockwise.
Okay.
So I don't get Shandu with torpedo after torpedo.
Not at all.
There's
We
this
should share the
fastball.
questions first. No. Yeah. So I mean, that's a good point. Like, so I will say I did not read it in one afternoon. It took me a while to read, but that was just because the subject matter was heavy. But the story moving itself was, like you said, like really well paced. And I think, well, I think what makes, at least some of what made that work, was just not a ton of exposition. Like everything was just like, you know, the characters just really like made it go along. Like, it was just the character interactions, and like to James' point earlier with the island as a character, like just the liberal, like, dwelling on the small moments in the island, like, 2-3 pages worth of just like small moments getting captured, or like somebody talking and then like 2 or 3 pages of like nobody talking, and like a faucet dripping, or like a bird flying, or I don't know, like, just moments that like, or I don't know, vignettes or whatever, like that just built up the island. So it was almost like watching a show. You didn't have to like do anything. You just needed to like keep turning the pages.
I feel like a lot of the drama between Dud and Jenny got me invested. I'm like, how's this gonna turn out? Like, is Dud gonna turn around? Like a lot of that got sucked me in. Rose and Wendy having adventures. I thought it was funny. Like you said, Sean, dude, there's a lot of little gags in there. There's a lot of little moments when like Rose and Wendy are, because they're comical. They're kind of like, they're opposites for sure. Like Rose is, in my opinion, very like kind of very straight laced, kind of just forward, and then Wendy's like this wild child. Her parents are hippies, she and stuff, and brings like an energy to it, that Rose doesn't have on her own, I guess.
Rose is like the point of view of Will from Stand By Me, kind of like the straight person. You know what I mean? If you think about it,
Yeah.
and like the POV is like, it's still easy to empathize with Rose, but very much the straight person, right? Like, that everyone else is bouncing off of, reflecting off of, and everything like that. I think that the density of some of the drama, density in a good way, not in a bad way, or I'll say layered, was really a nice contrast to the breathable pages that Sean was talking about, where it's just like a botanical, or just like that nice imagery that's really, really so texture, but yet just the sound effects of and then letting just the spreads breathe, and then you have this compact, condensed, stuff that's happening, or funny thing that's happening, then let it breathe. So I think that the little bit of an art house approach to it, and then then your slice of life memoir type of thing going into it. So a nice balance, I think.
I think going off of that, we did have someone in the Fable app talk about how it reminded them of an A24 movie, which is that art house style that you're talking about. So a lot of people picked up on that, but I think for me, what made it a quick and easy read was because it came from the point of view of 10-year-olds. Like, I think if it was the point of view of the adults, the parents going through their issues, they'd have a lot more to talk about. There would be more to the story of what's going on. Even if it's the teenagers, there'd be a whole lot more, gossip, texting, all of that. But the point of view was from these two kids. And the kids aren't involved in the conversations. And they're also just, it's what they're gathering from what they're witnessing. So I think that's what made it an easy, quick flow, was that was the point of view. You only got that quick and easy explanation as to what was going on around you.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I think I was gonna say things are definitely that's a good point, Sid, because things are slowly revealed. Like the beginning of the book, we don't know what's going on. Like we know something's wrong with Alice, Rose's mom. We know something's off, but we don't know that till halfway through the book. And we don't even know the circumstances of why she won't swim until the very end. And that has to do with the climax. Which brings me to my next question. I was going to ask, were you guys? I hope I'm not jumping the gun on this too much, but I'm going to jump to this. Were you satisfied with the ending? And I'm going to go counterclockwise to JM. JM, you have the floor.
I was very much satisfied with the ending. Again, um, just when it mattered, it came through, and then with the rocks, the stones, the weights being left there, very nice symbolism. What Sean weighed in on it back on an earlier discussion. So I was okay with the ending. I didn't want it to end in a way, but at the same time, it wasn't felt like I felt like left empty. And to piggyback real quick, and then I'll wrap up. I the point of view of being from the younger ones, it's almost like I didn't want them to grow up too fast, too soon. I wanted to keep being in that world from their younger point of view, and without the weight of all the stuff that the parents were dealing with. Even though I was engaged with that, but it's also again, it's almost like an '80s movie as well as an A24 movie. Stand by Me, a lot of stuff with River Phoenix back in the days. You know, there's a lot of that vibe in there, even though it takes place in more modern times. So yeah, satisfied with the ending. I didn't feel like it was phoned in. I felt like it was just the right thing, right time.
I'm going to play the opposite side and say that my first read, I did not like it. It was very much like you were a fly on the wall at Owego. Is that how you pronounce it? That's what we're going to go with. Owego Island. You were very much a fly on the wall. Like, you didn't know what happened prior to them showing up, and you don't know what happens after them showing up. And you just have to be told what the kids know, which is, again, little to no information. So my first read through, I'm reading and I'm like, huh? What? Like, okay, like, sure, yeah, we're ending, that's fine. But then the problem is Chandu, which I might be taking your answer for you, but he says, because I in the fable, I'm like, what is this? What happened? I don't know what's going on. And Chandu said, the rocks are the point. It's Rose letting go of literal emotional weight after overhearing Alice and Evelyn talking, and now I have to reread it. So maybe you'll have a different impression, because apparently I can't do the analytical thinking. I just vibe.
No.
So first time reading it, I did not like the ending, but Chandu, I think, had a really good point, so I'll let him talk about that.
No, I mean, I think we all covered it. So yeah, for me, like I said, like it was heavy reading for me. So like I was kind of relieved that it was over, and like no, and like James said, it didn't take much darker of a turn, and everybody was cool at the end of it, But at the same time, I think, yeah, the rocks thing. But I also was hugely satisfied with like the mom's like story wrapping up. Like,
I'll agree to that part.
yeah,
That wrap up was like, thank you. I finally know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really great, and especially like with the climax and like the way that whole thing played out, and even and I think I brought this up in the Fable app too, but like it was really interesting that when the whole time like Rose is pissed off at her mom, but then like whenever she sees that somebody's in the water and needs help, the first thing she does is call for mom. Like, doesn't matter, like she's like she and it was that's another moment that really stuck with me, was because if you looked at the panels on that page, like the first panel is like Rose making a little, I don't know, like realizing somebody's in the water, and she doesn't even start yelling, but the mom is already turning around because she's heard whatever little gasp that Rose has made. Like, she's so tuned in. And then Rose screams and mom's already running. Like, so yeah, it's beautifully done. So like that whole thing, yeah, that was hugely satisfying.
Yeah, I think I wrote this on the Fable app. I do like how the threads converged of the mom's storyline and Wendy. Yeah. No, not Wendy.
Jenny,
Jenny.
Jenny,
Jenny.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, how those threads converge because they're unrelated throughout the book. You know, you have Jenny's thing with Dud. That's happening in the background while they go to the video store and get all the DVDs, and then the mom's drama. So I like that the ending brought those two threads together. You had, you know, the mom saving her. I thought that was a really cool way to wrap the book up. I hope I'm not too long-winded on this, but I also was glad they didn't kill Jenny off. I thought there was a strong possibility it was going to go there, and I was reading it and I was dreading it. I was just like, oh man, they're going to kill Jenny off. I'm like, don't
Same
do
here.
that.
I kept waiting for that to
Yeah,
happen. That's you just described what that feeling was. I think that I kept having that. That was
yeah.
that dread. Speaking of Jenny, um, uh, did we get a? Does anyone feel like we got a resolution on her? Like, could there be a sequel to what happens to Jenny? You know what I
No,
mean? Like,
and
I
like
wish there was
that's
more.
yeah, I think that's what my frustration was, is that you're just a fly on the wall for this town right when they come in and right when they end. Like, you don't know what's going to happen to Jenny cuz Rose doesn't know what's going to happen to Jenny, you know? So I think that was my initial frustration just reading it the first time, is like, well, okay, all of these things are going on. We have no information. This is fun. It's fine. But what I think I would like, instead of a sequel, or it could be a sequel, but I want to see it in another point of view. I want to see it as a teenager, you know, or as an adult. Because, again, you get that more information. The older that you get, you're more aware of what's going on.
I want to see it from Jenny's point of view. Actually, that's what I mean by follow up. It's like
Yeah.
it could be a spiritual sequel, successor to the book, but now we're going to follow Jenny in that older age. Um, Adulthood is here now. Now you're about to be a mom, or what happens 10 years later, or something of that nature. You know what I mean? Like both Carl and I are really big Los Brother Hernandez fans, Love and Rockets fans.
Yeah.
And one thing they do really good, especially in Palomar, their other book, is take you through these different cycles and points of views of various people that come and go throughout their books and timelines. And I definitely could visit this world again from another character's point of view. I think I don't know if I have to see Rose right now, but there's enough characters where I wouldn't mind hanging out a little bit longer and seeing what happened.
When I was reading this, it gave me a Love and Rockets vibe. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but just some of the expressions and the way it's drawn, the thick outline on the characters and some of the expressions and how well rendered it is, and the melodrama of it reminded me of Love and Rockets. And I don't know if that's just on my end, but it definitely, I was thinking that while I was reading it. Um, we're kind of touching on the next question. It's kind of interesting, but I have written down here. Is there anything you would change? I feel like we were kind of touching on this. We were discussing this already. You know, we were talking about a sequel with another character, with Jenny's point of view, maybe, or something. But is there something in the narrative you would change? Maybe Sid, since you're critical of it.
I was gonna say, even with the criticalness of the initial read, I don't think I would change it. You know, it's new, it's different. It's usually with slice of life, you get an ending, but with actual life, sometimes you don't get that ending. You know, sometimes people just go out of your life, and you never get that closure. You don't know what's going on. So, like, while I was frustrated, I don't think I would have changed it, you know?
Any more thoughts on this, on that? On changing a part of the story?
I wouldn't. There's nothing that sticks out to me. There's a few technical, sequential process type of changes, edits I would have made, but narrative wise, nah. I was okay with it. I just would like to stay in the world longer. That's or revisit it again. and that's a testament to how much I enjoyed the book, I guess, or just
Yeah.
maybe it was a nice palate cleanser compared to some of the other stuff that you read, or just real life. You know what I mean? It was nice to see somebody else's life and not have to deal with my own for a minute. You know, so.
Yeah, I think it had an opportunity of like having like the parents have a reunion scene or something at the end. I'm kind of glad it didn't go there. And I really liked, I'm going to go back to this again. I really liked Shandu's thoughts on the rocks on the pillow, because honestly, I put the book down because I read it in an afternoon. I put the book down. That didn't occur to me that the rocks were the baggage and we're letting go of the baggage. I didn't put two and two together there. But I thought that was really interesting. And then the next thing I have here, would you recommend this book to anybody, or do you have a ranking for this book? You know, like, would you recommend this to a friend? Would you read this again? I can start.
I think no. I'm trying to figure out how to word it. So, would I recommend it to a friend? No. You know, if they're trying to get into graphic novels, this is not one that I would get them started on. If they already like graphic novels, particularly slice of life, absolutely. You know, I think it's a good take on that slice of life. It's just I wouldn't give it to somebody who is wanting to get into graphic novels.
See, I might counter that, but I'm going to let Shandu or somebody else weigh in first.
Well, I was also going to say I'm probably going to reread it because of what Chandu and others said in the Fable app, because they picked up on things that I didn't, which might help in a second reading. But I think that's just more of like so that I can get that clarity, so that I can get that information, rather than, oh, I really liked it. And in terms of like my rankings and stuff, I would say I liked it, but not enough that I'm going to buy it. Whereas, you know, with On a Sunbeam, I bought it before I finished it. So
That's fair. Shandu, would you recommend this? Do you have a ranking?
Yes. I mean, I would say I would recommend it. It's one of those. I mean, I kind of agree that like it presupposes kind of like an acquired taste, like that, you know, you have an understanding of what's possible with like the medium, and you know, the kinds of, you know, non-traditional stories, like, you know, if all you've ever read is like, I don't know, like mysteries or superhero stuff, and like, you know, I think this thing can really stretch. This book can really stretch what you think is possible with graphic novels. So like, yeah, if I knew that, you know, somebody could appreciate that, like I would totally recommend it. Like, or even if to like, you know, whet their curiosity or whatever. But not in a way that, oh, you're gonna love this. It's more like you should check this out kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's because of what Shandu said is why I would recommend it. Because me being who I am and a comic scholar, snob, whatever you want to call it, advocate of the medium is about trying to get your expectations to expand and appreciate that graphic novels aren't just wham bam punch pow, you know, capes and cod pieces. You know what I mean? So I would like to expand someone's horizons of what a graphic novel could be and stuff like that. But with the caveat that I understand that this may not be everyone's first pick to start them out on, because it is a certain type of temperament. So maybe, I mean, I've put Preacher and Walking Dead in somebody's hands first, right? The shock value and all that. If you put those two together, you probably would have to find the right person that could appreciate this. Otherwise, they might end up being like, "That's a dud," and then I would have to be like, "You're a dud," and then you know. So, anyways, yeah.
no, that's I think what I'm getting at is like this is definitely a graphic novel for people to appreciate and understand the expansiveness that graphic novels can be, but it's not the it's not one that I would give to someone who only thinks of comics as superheroes. Like, this is not going to catch their attention.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to comment on. I have one of Mariko's other books, and I think Mariko has art style changes from book to book. I don't think.
Well,
this...
Mariko is the writer. Jillian is the one who drew.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
So I don't know which book you have because Jillian has also done others. They're cousins, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that they've worked together, so I don't know which book that you have and if Jillian helped with that. But Mariko is just a writer, to my understanding. I think she might do a little drawing, but not full scale. And I could be wrong if someone wants to fact check me.
Well, Carl, would you recommend it to answer the question, or were you getting there?
My spin on that, you know, I would recommend this to somebody that loves comics, that like loves the art form, like as something to look at, because there's a lot here to like. There's like realistic characters, there's realistic backgrounds. The backgrounds are taking me back. You know, the backgrounds are really well rendered. The characters' expressions, like I said, I'm repeating myself, the dialogue. Would I recommend this to somebody? I think one of you touched on this, like somebody that reads Marvel and DC. Of course not. They're not going to like it. You know, there's not a lot of that here, that like Marvel fanfare, that like, let's go save the day. It's very much about real people and real situations. And I don't know if I had to rank this, I give it like maybe like a 3.9. I don't think I'm going to personally revisit this. It was a fun read and I like taking in the art and stuff, but difficult to say if I would return to this. It was a good read. I liked it, reading it.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't one of those like, wow, that was an afternoon I could have spent better, but no problem reading it, It was really good.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like the crown jewel of comics, like but to say that the art is bad would be ridiculous because it is really like impressively rendered.
Yeah.
Like
and
the
I think
characters.
That's one of the reasons I really like the book, is like that it's kind of aspirational for me. Like, that's kind of where I could, I would like to go with my art. Like, I don't know, whenever that is, but that's
I could
like,
see that.
yeah. So
I
like
could see that,
that's the closest, or like so far, I would like to tell stories like that, I guess.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. Would you watch this if it was adapted into a series?
Probably not.
Or a film? I would. I mean, I know people that would probably watch this over reading it. You know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
how many series on Netflix are actually? It's crazy how many are actually graphic novels. You know what I mean?
This is true.
Or webcomics. Yeah.
I'm skeptical.
I would watch it just to see what it is. But like, I read the whole Y the Last Man series. I love that series. It was so good. I don't think I got past 15 minutes of the Hulu show. It was so bad. So I'm skeptical when it comes to graphic novel adaptations. So like, I think I would watch it just for the sake of like,
yeah,
did they do well?
That's a good question though. Like, I would not watch a show. Like, it is not, I mean, this kind of story is not typically what I watch anyway, but like I feel like the way the story is told as a comic, I think really sells it. Like, with I don't know, with film, like, you have lighting, you have music, you have like editing, like all these other conveniences that allow you to tell a good story, but with comics you just have pages. And like, I feel like Jillian, or my going by what you said, Sid, that Jillian is the artist, and I feel like between that and the script for like the comic, I think it was just worked really really well. So like I would come back to read it for sure, but like if it was a show, I would skip it.
I would totally invest in the show because if they take nods from the comic of how the art was staged, how the spreads, how those still moments, right? Comics is about pacing, right? What right? I mean, that's part of the beauty of the medium is what they can do with pacing. What doesn't happen in between the gutters? What does happen? What is decided to be on the page versus what you have to fill in? The engagement aspect, right? Now imagine them trying to take like zooming in with the camera on that flower, right, or that opening thing, or the drive up there with Rush and all that. Like we're talking about some really. I feel like Jillian brought a cinematic aspect to it, but more
Yes.
on the art house and not on the not the Michael Bay booms and explosions, but the nuance and the just to let it resonate. So I would have to check it out because I got to see. Did you capture the artistry of the book and the tonality of the story and these characters that were very much fleshed out? Like who doesn't want to see what was a Wendy would be like? Because you probably would steal every episode, right? Every scene,
Yeah.
Oh
Just
yeah.
right?
steal the show,
So when you think
probably.
about the embellishments of what the comic and the story was able to do, that's why I would like to see things in other mediums to see, okay, what did you bring in and what did you leave out, or what did you do better than the book did because of the medium that you have? And so that's what I love about, just as a pure artist, I guess you could say. You know what I mean? So
I'm skeptical in a world where like Paper Girls gets canceled after one season on Prime. I didn't even watch it, but I've read Paper
you read
Girls.
my mind. I watched it and I was pissed, and that's why I
Yeah.
keep bringing this up as far as the medium because I didn't want to say Paper Girls because I was like, is that a good example? But it was what I was feeling. It was like I haven't watched Heartstopper yet, but my understanding is that a lot of people enjoy Heartstopper, right? So I'm
Mhm.
just thinking of these different series, right? These different things that
Yeah,
are. That's do you see
I
where I'm going with this now? The vibe,
yeah.
and then think back to the '80s of Stand By Me, awesome Stephen King movie, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's growing up and all that kind of stuff like that. So these are in the pop culture or in the lexicon of generations, right? So when I think about the weight and just the old universal webbing of things, then it makes me appreciate the book even more. And then when I go back to reading it, besides the personal things that it hit on, for me personally, where I'm at in my life. Yeah.
I'm skeptical. It would take a really special director, I think, to nail it. And like
Yeah.
it would have to be someone that like really appreciates the book and like wants to capture the art style. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you could just like make this into a Netflix show, or something. Like it would need some kind of special treatment to be successful. Like I said, in a world where Paper Girls gets canceled, it's like I'm kind of skeptical,
Yeah.
of a film adaptation, I guess.
Paper Girls was great, and it was canceled. I don't know if that has to do with because of these executives making these weird choices that it seems to be rampant amongst all the streaming services. If it doesn't make a certain amount, then it's gone. Even though forget about the quality of the actual stuff itself, though. But the interpersonal communication experiences of the characters in Paper Girls reminds me of this in a way to where I feel like it more so than the sci-fi elements. So anyways, I don't want to get on a tangent.
Yeah, that's kind of all the questions I had, and since we're kind of to that time, let's just go around. We'll go around clockwise, and we can all talk about our projects and where to find us on social media. Oh yeah, and don't forget to check us out on the Fable app. Right now, we're reading Boxers and discussing that. That's the current book for the reading club. But Sean, do you have the floor on any projects you want to talk about or your
Sweet.
books?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, currently I'm working on a long form comic series, doing all of the writing and drawing and everything. So it's called All Our Monsters, and it's a fantasy story centering on like a teenage refugee and who discovers like this power, and the book kind of goes into the what that is. Um, And oops, looks like we lost Sid for a minute. So JM, do you want to go?
Yeah, so I've currently in the midst of a Kickstarter I just started for the Universal Flaw Robotics, did the cover for it, and we are, in fact, I'll be doing an interview on this station tomorrow with one of the contributors. In fact, I'll be doing regular interviews as well as Kelsey and Ben, from the C3 group, and on the route to our other Kickstarter crowdfunder that we'll have with C3 when we're done with our anthology for the at the end of the summer.
Oh, cool. You can find my work at www.carllucasdraws.com. I have my book. I would hold it up, but he's behind me. Shogun Bear in the House of Horrors. Currently working on the second one. And me and JM will be at Street Cat Zine Fest this weekend with all kinds of new mini comics and zines. I'd hold it up. I just finished a new Batman zine and a fun little one pager that I'll have at the show. So looking forward to it. Looking for this weekend.
Yay, Sydney's back.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi decided to cut out right at the last minute. So, what was the question?
Sid, is there any projects you want to promote? Maybe the for the anthology or your work or anything?
Oh yeah. So first of all, here's the link for the reading club. Anybody can join. All you have to do is be a fan of graphic novels or just curious about graphic novels. We would love to have you. You don't have to be a comic creator. That's why we're using the Fable app so that anybody can join us. So we'd love to have you there. But also, C3 is running a crowdfunder this month. No, it starts next month. We're running a crowdfunder for our 2024 anthology called C Stands For. And we have a bunch of live stream interviews scheduled. So check it.
JM, you're in mute.
So check the Instagram, the C3 Instagram, for the updates on the schedule for all the interviews for that crowdfunder. There's many interviews are already scheduled. So yeah, Instagram. That's where the schedule's at, right, Sid, for the interviews?
Yes, thank you for catching me.
All right. Well, I think that wraps everything up. Thanks for joining us for this discussion of This One Summer by Julian Tamaki and Mariko Tamaki. And our next stream will be Boxers. Once again, join us on the Fable app for discussions of the book. And I hope everyone takes care and has a fantastic weekend. Adios.